What's the difference between a god and a demigod? You got to remember these are English terms, okay? And so when we try to apply them into Hawaiian, it's a little different. In the original, where they come from, from Europe, the god is an immortal. The demigod is usually the child of a god. Like Hercules was a demigod, okay? And might or might not be immortal, or might become immortal at some point, but starting out was mortal because they were half mortal. When we apply that to Hawaiian, it doesn't really fit because they didn't have that kind of relationship with the gods. And the human beings were not born from the rain. And yet I can see myself talking myself into a corner already, because there are many Hawaiian families who trace their ancestry to animals and plants, but not as gods in the way that we're used to thinking of in the West, okay? These immortal beings. No, not like that. These are forces of nature, right? And so when they were trying to translate, figure out what the heck kind of a character was Maui, who was one of the most famous, and he had all these characteristics. Well, stories didn't talk about him as a trickster. They used the Hawaiian term that was used, kupua. And then depending on the story, the translator would call it Maui the demigod, or Maui the trickster, or Maui the magician. The Hawaiians only use one word for all of that. And the closest equivalent, when we look at other languages, we have to go to Siberia to get the equivalent word, and that's shaman. In fact, that's why the word shaman is used, because there's no equivalent in English. Okay? And it was no equivalent in Russian either, because it was the Russians who first began studying this, and they borrowed the word from one of the tribes in Siberia, the Tungus. Okay? So that's why we have the word shaman today. And if they'd started in Hawaii, we'd have the word kupua today, all over. Okay? Hard word to define.